Trong những năm 1990, nước Mỹ bị bao trùm bởi một nỗi sợ hãi mới, một bóng ma vô hình gieo rắc kinh hoàng khắp các tiểu bang. Hắn là một kẻ sát nhân hàng loạt, hành tung bí ẩn như chính bóng đêm, nhưng lại không bao giờ chịu ẩn mình hoàn toàn. Sau mỗi tội ác ghê rợn, một lá thư khiêu khích sẽ đến tay cảnh sát và các tòa soạn báo chí, và trên đó, một khuôn mặt cười toe toét, quỷ dị như một lời chế nhạo. Hắn ta được gọi là sát nhân nụ cười, và cái tên ấy đã khắc sâu vào nỗi ám ảnh tập thể của cả một quốc gia. Và rồi, câu chuyện khủng khiếp ấy bắt đầu vào ngày 21 tháng 5 năm 1990. Tonya Ray Bennett, một sinh viên 23 tuổi đầy sức sống, rời khỏi căn nhà ấm cúng của mình ở Portland, Oregon để tận hưởng một đêm đi chơi cùng bạn bè. Một đêm bình thường như bao đêm khác của tuổi trẻ. Cô không bao giờ trở về nhà. 2 ngày sau, một người lái xe tải định mệnh đã phát hiện ra thi thể của cô trong hẻm núi Columbia hùng vĩ, một khung cảnh thiên nhiên tuyệt đẹp bị vấy bẩn bởi một tội ác ghê tởm. Tonya đã bị siết cổ cho đến chết và có những dấu hiệu rõ ràng của sự bạo hành tàn nhẫn. Nỗi đau đớn và sự mất mát đã gặm nhấm gia đình cô khi mẹ của Tonya, bằng một sự kinh hoàng không thể tả xiết, nhận ra bộ quần áo của con gái mình trên bản tin thời sự, xác nhận danh tính của nạn nhân. Cảnh sát nhanh chóng lao vào cuộc điều tra và những mảnh ghép đầu tiên bắt đầu xuất hiện. Tonya đã chơi bia tại một quán bar với một nhóm đàn ông lạ mặt và sau đó cô được nhìn thấy rời đi cùng một người đàn ông cao lớn. Nhưng đó là tất cả. Không có nhân chứng nào khác đứng ra, không có camera giám sát nào ghi lại được khoảnh khắc định mệnh ấy. Vụ án chìm vào bế tắc và nỗi sợ hãi về một kẻ săn mồi vô hình lại càng lớn dần. 13 ngày sau cái chết của Tonya, khi hy vọng tìm ra thủ phạm đang dần lụi tàn, một tia sáng bất ngờ xuất hiện. Một cuộc gọi nặc danh đến từ một người phụ nữ tên Lavender, tố cáo bạn trai cô ta, John Solovsky, chính là kẻ đã gây ra tội ác. Lavender cung cấp một lượng lớn lời khai và bằng chứng đáng ngạc nhiên, một mảnh vải rách mà cô ta khẳng định là từ chiếc quần của nạn nhân, và một mẩu giấy với nét chữ được cho là giống của John. Dựa trên những lời khai này, cảnh sát nhanh chóng bắt giữ cả John và Lavender, tin rằng họ đã tìm ra thủ phạm. Giới truyền thông xôn xao và công chúng thở phào nhẹ nhõm, tin rằng công lý đã được thực thi. Tuy nhiên, tại phiên tòa, một tình tiết bất ngờ đã xảy ra khiến tất cả mọi người phải sững sờ. Lavender bất ngờ thay đổi lời khai của mình, tuyên bố rằng cô ta đã dựng lên toàn bộ câu chuyện để thoát khỏi mối quan hệ bạo lực với John. Lời thú tội ban đầu của cô ta, vốn được coi là bằng chứng thép, giờ đây trở nên lung lay. Nhưng những lời khai ban đầu của cô ta quá thuyết phục, và điều quan trọng hơn, cô ta có thể dẫn cảnh sát đến vị trí chính xác mà thi thể của Tonya được tìm thấy, một chi tiết mà chỉ kẻ gây án hoặc người có liên quan chặt chẽ mới có thể biết. Bất chấp sự thay đổi lời khai, công tố viên đã thành công trong việc thuyết phục bồi thẩm đoàn rằng Lavette Wagner và John có tội. Cả hai đều bị kết án tù chung thân, bị giam giữ vì một tội ác mà, như lịch sử sau này sẽ chứng minh, họ không hề gây ra. Thế giới dường như đã khép lại vụ án sát nhân nụ cười, nhưng trong bóng tối, một con quái vật thực sự vẫn đang tự do, nở một nụ cười ẩn giấu, chuẩn bị cho những tội ác tiếp theo của mình. But the nightmare was far from over.
Even as Lavetner and Jan Solosky sat imprisoned, serving sentences for a crime they did not commit, the true killer remained at large, a shadow moving silently across America's highways. For a time, the terror seemed to subside, the gruesome happy face a distant, horrifying memory. But in 1994, the chilling symbol resurfaced, not as a crude drawing on a wall, but as a direct challenge to justice. A letter arrived at an Oregon court, its unsettling contents hinting at a truth far more sinister than anyone had imagined. The handwriting was crude, the message audacious. The sender claimed responsibility for Tonya Ray Bennett's murder, scoffing at the authorities for having imprisoned the wrong people. Attached was the now infamous drawing, a grinning, monstrous face that sent shivers down the spines of seasoned investigators. This wasn't an isolated incident. More letters followed, each one a taunting confession, each accompanied by the macabre happy face. These weren't mere boasts, they contained disturbing details, revealing the disposal sites of 6 other women across multiple states, mapping out a hidden reign of terror that spanned years and hundreds of miles. The police, initially skeptical, were forced to confront a horrifying possibility. They had caught a copycat, or worse, the real killer had been mocking them all along. The fear that had gripped the nation years earlier began to creep back, cold and insidious, as they realized the happy-faced killer was still out there. Then, in 1995, another body was discovered, reigniting the urgency of the investigation. Julie Windingham, like Tanya, was last seen alive with a tall, unknown man. The similarities were too striking to ignore. This time, however, investigators had a lead. They meticulously pieced together Julie's last known movements, tracing her life to the point where it intersected with her killer's. Their diligent work led them to a crucial discovery. Julie had recently sold her car to a man named Keith Hunter Jesperson. Tall, imposing, standing at a towering 6 feet 8 inches, Jesperson was a truck driver whose routes took him across the very states where the happy-faced killer's victims had been found. It was a harrowing coincidence, or perhaps the break they had desperately sought. When confronted, Keith Hunter Jesperson's composure crumbled. The man who had eluded capture for so long, who had reveled in his anonymity and his chilling game of cat and mouse with the authorities, finally broke. He confessed, a torrent of horrifying details spilling forth. Intercepting a letter he had written to his brother, the police discovered the full extent of his depravity, a chilling admission to the murders of 8 women, including both Tanya Ray Bennett and Julie Windingham. The DNA evidence from the anonymous letters, those taunting messages adorned with the grotesque smiling face, was meticulously analyzed. The results were irrefutable, a perfect match to Keith Hunter Jesperson. The ghost that had haunted their nightmares, the phantom happy-face killer, had finally been given a name and a face. Jesperson's confession sent shockwaves through the justice system. The immediate consequence was the overturning of Levetner and John Solowski's wrongful convictions. After 4 agonizing years spent behind bars for a crime they did not commit, they were finally set free. Levetner, now free from the grip of her abusive relationship and the crushing weight of her false testimony, revealed the chilling truth behind her initial statements. She had meticulously gathered details from news reports and television broadcasts, weaving a convincing, albeit false, narrative that implicated John and, by extension, herself. Her desperation to escape her violent partner had led to a tragic miscarriage of justice. As for Keith Hunter Jesperson, his motives painted a dark and disturbing portrait of a man consumed by his own pathologies. He revealed that his murderous spree began in the wake of a tumultuous divorce, finding in his job as a long-haul truck driver the perfect veil for his monstrous acts. The open road, the anonymity of constantly moving, provided him with countless opportunities and no witnesses. He killed, he claimed, for a sense of ultimate satisfaction and, more chillingly, for attention. He expressed a profound disappointment when Levetner and Ja received all the media spotlight for Tanya's murder. It was this wounded ego, this perverse craving for recognition, that drove him to send the anonymous letters and draw the menacing happy-face graffiti. A desperate plea to redirect the world's gaze onto his own gruesome deeds. His childhood, Jesperson recounted, was a crucible of violence and neglect. Growing up in an abusive household, he became withdrawn, insecure, and increasingly prone to violent outbursts. He was an outcast, relentlessly ridiculed by his peers, who branded him with the cruel nickname, Monster. These formative years of pain and alienation forged a deep-seated rage, twisting him into the very monster they had called him. The story of Keith Hunter Jesperson, the happy-faced killer, ultimately became a stark reminder of the devastating ripple effects of domestic violence and societal indifference. It underscored the critical importance of meticulous investigation, a testament to the fact that shortcuts and assumptions in the pursuit of justice can lead to catastrophic consequences, forever altering innocent lives. Keith Hunter Jesperson was ultimately sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms. His reign of terror finally brought to an end, but the scars he left behind serve as a permanent caution. With Keith Hunter Jesperson's confession, a shocking truth emerged, shattering the illusion of justice that had settled over the Tanya Rape Bennett case. The meticulous details he provided, the chilling correspondence he'd sent, all pointed to one undeniable fact: LeVetner and John Solovsky were innocent. Their convictions, once considered irrefutable, crumbled under the weight of Jesperson's admissions. After 4 agonizing years spent behind bars, their lives irrevocably altered by a crime they did not commit, the couple was finally set free. The moment they stepped out of the prison gates, blinking in the unfamiliar sunlight, must have been a complex mix of relief, anger, and profound sadness for the time stolen from them. Lavenère, once the key witness against Ye, later admitted that her initial, compelling testimony had been a desperate fabrication, pieced together from newspaper articles and television reports about the Bennett murder. She had crafted a narrative, complete with a torn piece of fabric and a note, designed to implicate Ye and secure her own escape from an abusive relationship, never imagining the tragic domino effect her lies would unleash, leading to the wrongful imprisonment of 2 people and the continued reign of terror by a true monster. As the true killer's identity was revealed, so too were the twisted roots of his depravity. Keith Hunter Jesperson, a towering figure at 6 feet 7 inches tall, confessed to a horrific spree of violence across multiple states. He revealed that his murderous journey began in 1990, coinciding chillingly with the dissolution of his marriage. The life of a long-haul truck driver, which he embraced after his divorce, provided him with the perfect camouflage for his monstrous acts. The endless highways became his hunting grounds, the isolation of the road a shield for his darkest impulses. He spoke of the extreme satisfaction he derived from taking a life, a perverse sense of power and control that filled the void left by a lifetime of insecurity and rejection. But beyond this chilling internal gratification, Jesperson harbored another powerful, almost childish desire: the craving for attention. He was a man who felt ignored, overlooked, and utterly insignificant. When Lavenner and Jan Solovsky were paraded before the media, wrongly accused and sensationalized, Jesperson felt a deep sense of resentment, a strange form of professional jealousy. They were getting the spotlight he craved, the recognition for his crimes. It was this wounded ego, this hunger for notoriety, that drove him to send the taunting letters to the authorities and the press, letters adorned with the now infamous crudely drawn smiling face. These happy-face drawings, scrawled as graffiti in truck stops and on bathroom walls, were his desperate cries for acknowledgement, his way of staking claim to his horrific achievements, ensuring that the world knew who the real perpetrator was. He wanted to be seen, even if it meant being seen as a monster. His path to becoming that monster was, tragically, paved in a childhood of abuse and neglect. Jesperson grew up in a household steeped in violence, a breeding ground for his deeply troubled psyche. He became withdrawn, cloaked in an inferiority complex that festered into intense self-loathing. From a young age, he exhibited violent tendencies, a precursor to the horrors he would later unleash. Bullied mercilessly by his peers, he was branded with the cruel moniker Monster, a label that would ironically foreshadow his adult life. These traumatic experiences, the constant ridicule, the brutal upbringing, slowly but surely warped his mind, transforming him from a vulnerable, insecure child into the very embodiment of the monster he was called. The cycle of violence, once inflicted upon him, found its terrifying outlet through him. For his reign of terror, Keith Hunter Jesperson was ultimately handed 4 consecutive life sentences, ensuring he would spend the remainder of his life in the confines of a prison cell. A grim testament to the lives he shattered and the innocence he stole. The story of the happy-face killer stands as a stark and sobering reminder of the devastating, far-reaching impact of domestic violence and the perils of societal indifference. It exposes how unchecked trauma can metastasize into unspeakable evil, leaving a trail of destruction that extends far beyond the immediate victims. Moreover, this case powerfully underscores the critical importance of meticulous and exhaustive investigative work, a cautionary tale against rushed judgments and the devastating consequences of wrongful convictions. Levitner and John Solowski's 4 years of lost freedom serve as a chilling testament to the fragility of justice when proper procedures are circumvented. This is a narrative that compels us to look deeper, to question assumptions, and to recognize the profound responsibility we collectively bear in upholding justice and protecting the most vulnerable among us.